up with your deception. Keep it real, that's a profession. Like the whole world is pretending. Found the truth around the penguin. Get a gang on with a blessing. All the other gang are stressing. RPSC on a nesting. Only real ones gonna get this. Fake ones don't accept this. They can miss the message. Timbuktu got bodies, yeah. Find them in our wreckage. Auto host and message. Squad are represented. Killing you with knowledge, yeah. The uppers getting better. Oh, you're so effective, cause we're so effective. Let go of your worries, yeah, the whole thing is a stutter. We got it and we get it, offering refreshment. Level up your conscience, yeah, it's honestly the essence. This wave is uncontainable, facts are undebatable. You lanes are unrelatable, give a fuck about saving you. We could keep on playing you, you just keep complaining too. Game is unescapable, unless you're with the gang or no.
Messing with the penguin, we're messing with the penguin, 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 fucking with the penguins, yeah, with the penguins. I'm coming with a vengeance, trying to make you come to your senses. Forget the general consensus, just pay attention. The rules to heads paid for good intentions. I'm clenching my back wrenching, representing only the most superior, independent media. We got that real shit, fucking encyclopedia. We're bringing an end to this mass hysteria. They wanna know why it's so serious, cause you must be delirious. If you're still believing stuff, get a grip and show some evidence for your bold claims. We don't play no games, we stay relentless, exposing those events. With the IPS are making an entrance, but some doors down, cause now's the time for interventions. Did I mention we're affecting so many men across the spectrum? We stand out from the crowd, we don't blend in. Steady gaining tremendous momentum, there's nothing close resembling. Check the emblem, it's a penguin, not a gremlin. Just letting you know you're on an infinite plane, it's never bending. We strike like 10 pin, killing all fears and breaking the tension. Gotta know the hopes army, digging deep in the trenches. Come and join in, be adventurous. Quit being so sensitive, forget the censorship, we ain't telling fibs. Messing with the penguin, we're messing with the penguin, 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 fucking with the penguins, yeah.
We are live, 7/15/2024. One of those busy weeks, like what Vladimir Lenin talked about. There are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. Interesting times. We're going to continue our ongoing discussion, and I would say cutting edge, way ahead of the pack, breakdown of the Trump assassination PSYOP, psychological operation, PR stunt, WWE, performance art piece, whatever you want to call it. And we have been cutting edge with all of the predictive programming and concurrent programming. And as you'll see today, we have made the case. Synchromysticism, these mystified explanations for predictive programming, that's been debunked. Synchromysticism is deader than the Mandela effect. False flag theories, those are all false. No such thing. So if you're still promulgating false flags, I think 2002 called, and they want their controlled opposition guardrailed conspiracy theory back. So we're going to go ahead and just continue where we left off yesterday, because things are definitely developing along the same lines, and everything's reiterating what we have said. So here's a trailer for a movie that came out just in time. This is the trailer for Captain America. So this comes out just in time for the Trump shooting event, and it has Harrison Ford as the president, and he gets shot at. It's an assassination attempt in front of a lot of people, and he falls amidst the shattered glass all around him.
Forward.
So there he is, getting shot at, and he falls to the ground. Now, we've been talking about a lot of similar scenes in different movies, like from 2010's Machete, where there's a Trump-like character pre-Trump, before Trump was a politician. Robert De Niro's playing Trump in 2010. ripping on illegal immigrants when he gets shot and dragged off stage. Well, before he was shot and dragged off stage, he was talking about 20 million illegal immigrants. So this is very consistent. But now in this one, this is Captain America, Harrison Ford. Here's what makes it even more interesting. The 13th is said to be the birthday of Julius Caesar. And in 2016, there was Julius Caesar in the park, where they had Donald Trump as Julius Caesar being killed. So they've been ritually killing Donald Trump for some time. And there's some additional connections we could get into later regarding the Booth family, I want to talk about John Wilkes Booth and the Lincoln assassination and Central Park. There's actually a connection there we could get into that has to do with that theater where they ritually killed Trump as Julius Caesar. But more interestingly, of course, was Trump's assassination attempt was on July 13th, Caesar's birthday. And then furthermore, Harrison Ford, who played a president who was nearly assassinated, was born on July 13th. So that's another layer of symbolism attached to his role in Captain America as a nearly assassinated president. So it's beyond just the timing of the release and the coincidence of the similarities between the events, but it also has the July 13th tie-in. Pretty clear right there. For some reason, Blog Talk Radio is not working. Their system's down. I try to set up the phone, so we'll deal with that. One theory, there's so many theories coming out there. And when I say guardrail, like false flag theories, all false flag theories are guardrails. And I use this term, and I came up with this term to describe information flow. And it's been appropriated in recent mass media talks about how they need to put guardrails into AI. But the premise is this. We're all being led down a certain path. The information superhighway, it's been described, all this information we're on, but it's like we're literally being moved on a timeline. And if you begin to question things, there are conspiracy theories at the side that don't take away from the big picture, but offer an alternative explanation so you keep moving with everyone else. But the guardrails don't go far enough. They never say fake. So a false flag theory says, oh, the event was real, but it was done by somebody else. It was a patsy, so it was an inside job. And these stories keep the conspiracy theorists busy. However, these stories are manufactured to keep you from looking at how fake it all is. But there's so many theories going around. Like one theory is that people are, since they're noticing that the shooter was up there for a while, and he was noticed, and it seemed that the SS, the Secret Service, was standing down, as though they were allowing him to shoot the president so they could then kill him after. So this was again said to be a patsy situation. And they did give him a lot of time. They gave him a long time. So it's like this story was just dangled out there for people to jump on. You had witnesses attesting to, hey, the shooter's crawling up the wall, nobody's doing anything. So we're looking at a number of different stories cropping up that don't cancel out the essential reality of the event. Now, one thing is for sure, they didn't give him enough time to calculate for the rotation of the Earth. Maybe his aim was perfect, but he didn't give it a lead. No, for real though, if you look at the pictures, I have another indication that this is 100% staged to be this. This wasn't a false flag where they missed. And I have a number of memes that I want to show you from months ago. Predictive memes that we have promoted here. But look at this here. This is one of the best examples of predictive programming, of the meta-scripted nature of the news, of foreshadowing that we have ever seen. And simulation, synchromysticism, coincidences don't explain this. What you have here is the image from The Atlantic, owned by Alex Soros, soon-to-be husband of Uma Abedin, son of George Soros. And this is not the only instance of predictive programming in his magazine, The Atlantic. But if you look here, it specifically has his ear clipped. This is something that people are noticing because, for example, Colin Rugg has said this. Trump confirms a chunk of his ear is gone. Details more injuries he received during an interview with the New York Post. Again, just checking, look at the chunk of his ear. It matches from The Atlantic's image of Trump with an apparent head wound. And this whole article was about how now that the Supreme Court has given him carte blanche, we're all screwed. So again, what are we looking at? We're looking at a staged event down to the minutest detail. He wasn't meant to die. Nobody died that day. Anybody saying anybody died, really, if you're going to promote that, you have to ask yourself, what's your source? The lying media? And it gets even deeper. This is another huge clue. This is one of the biggest clues that has dropped so far. Credit goes to they're already here. This one is good. So do you all remember we talk about Richard Drew, AP photographer, AP reporter photographer who photographed RFK as he fell to his death. So Richard Drew photographs Robert F. Kennedy as he's falling. 33 years later, Richard Drew on 9/11 photographs the falling man. So you have a presidential assassination and a 9/11 connection with one AP photographer, two lucky shots. Well, look at this. Doug Mills, photographer for the New York Times, took the photograph of the bullet whizzing by Trump's head. He also took the photo of George Bush the moment he was told about the airplane hitting the tower, America under attack. So what's the connection here? A 9/11 connection and an attempted assassination. So assassination 9/11, RFK falling man, attempted assassination on Trump, and 9/11 when the news was delivered. Same photographers. And that's because the media is the production company. They're producing these events. They're a production company, they're a movie company, a reality TV show that does propaganda for the government. However you want to look at it, this is another indication of how fake and staged this is, because these are the most iconic photos. What is the most iconic photo of 9/11? The falling man. What is the most, next to this one here, the George Bush with the look on his face. And this bullet whizzing by Trump, very iconic. More reason to doubt everything you're shown. Bombshell judge dismisses Jack Smith's classified docs case against Trump. Again, Trump's getting all these get out of jail free cards. So is Alec Baldwin, his twin. Both of them getting released from the stuff at the same time. Trump assassin attempt trading card. First they jail him, now they try to kill him. Stand strong. There's already t-shirts and mugs and trading cards. Alright, continuing. I want to go specifically over a lot of the predictive programming, and then we'll get back and we'll go look at a lot of the other nuance. But one of the things I pointed out day one when they said it was at 611. 611 is code on the right for Timothy McVeigh, Waco, white nationalism, and the armor of God. Many truthers talk about the so-called armor of God. Protects you from chemtrails. I first heard it from Richie from Boston. Put on the full armor of God. Well, the armor of God verse is from Ephesians 6:11. So it's notable that Steve Bannon, who was an advisor to Trump, who just went to jail, the guy from Breitbart, said that Trump was saved because he's wearing the armor of God. Now people are making the connections between armor of God and the timestamp of 6:11. This is God that saved him. And listen to some of these people's responses. Like, this is Scott Moorfield. I woke up thinking about this and I'm stunned. I've been a big Trump critic, but after what happened last night and his defiant reaction and the stunning photos, something stirred in me that I didn't know was there. Somehow I want to run through a wall for someone now I worked against for the entire primary cycle. If this didn't change the world, it changed me. And there's a lot of great propaganda analysis and breakdown of the pictures that we've been examining of the event, how obviously staged and scripted it is for maximum effect. I mean, this was a major propaganda victory. And some of you have been asking about Vince Fuchsia, because yes, Vince Fuchsia, who many believe is JFK Jr. in disguise, has been hanging around. And we'll get into that because he was there. And that's all strange because as JL called the other day and he was saying, it's safe to assume everybody behind him is in on this op. You don't do psyops in front of normies. You have to have it as a closed set to some extent. Now, I heard somewhere that they're trying to get Secret Service protection for RFK Jr. Trump has even said because of his family history. And it's like nobody wants to shoot RFK Jr. He just needs to get over himself. Now, here is a pretty good propaganda breakdown of the image. So you have the image of the, I'll pull this up. This is also iconic. We already talked about the Braveheart connection between Donald Trump raising his fist in Braveheart and how it matches his face paint on his avatar, and he's saying fight, fight, fight. Well, we have the U.S. Marine Corps memorial, their war memorial, which has been compared to Trump and his Secret Service agents propping him up. He raises his fist, and there's a flag behind him. And if you look at the layout of it, so Trump's face is perfect center and is looking up while the Secret Service looks down. And then you have the shorter Secret Service agent leaning down and hugging him. Anyway, people have noted that this is a perfectly framed photograph. I mean, these are skilled photographers. That's certainly the case. But we're just noting, kind of like with January 6th, many of these images are based on earlier iconic images. And it's all done to create associations. And the QAnoners are aglow right now. They're hitting their Q pipes because there are some Q posts that do correspond loosely, in my opinion. Here's one. Here's a Q drop where Trump has his fist raised, his eyes glowing, and this is from September 2018. And then at the bottom it says fight, fight, fight. So some suggest that this is some kind of message from the past or future. And speaking of messages from the past, this is an old tweet. This is a tweet of mine from November 15th, 2023. And I put this out the day after JFK's hoax anniversary. And I said, MAGA Antichrist cult. And I have these two soy jock MAGAs pointing at JFK on a cross. And it says, one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Revelation 13:3. And I've been saying for some time that the QAnoners are waiting for Trump to get shot in the head so they can worship him as the beast. And their slogan, the best is yet to come, is really the beast is yet to come. And many of them have said as much. They said Revelation 13:3 is about JFK. So we've been pointing this out. So here's a meme from a year ago talking about how when he gets this head wound, it's going to be a messianic cult and it's going to be looked at as a miracle. And I think I've been vindicated. So this meme is ahead of its time. Someone had retweeted it today. So someone is going through my tweets and looking. Oh, by the way, Matthew Crooks, the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, was on Discord. And if you're a Discord user you're later shown to be a mass shooter, they blame Discord because Discord creates mass shooters on the right side. Reddit is what generally generates the leftist shooters. So I think it's kind of strange that he came from Discord. I would have imagined he would have been a Redditor. All right, moving on. Trump's face found on Jarrow dog's ear. This is not a new story, but this is from the BBC. This was shared by Synchromorpheus, and the article has a PA like Pennsylvania. But it's just coincidence, of course. I don't know what to make of it. There is a cyst in a dog's ear from 2017 that looks like Donald Trump's face and his blonde hair. Take a look. I mean, I see it. I can't unsee it. That looks like Donald Trump's face in the cyst in the dog's ear. Again, kind of rando, but if you join our Gilded, you might find interesting things such as that. Great article here by Petra Liverani called False Flags Are Faked. Fakeologist added, or are false flag narratives propaganda streams targeted at disbeliever profiles, so we're all duped, believers and disbelievers. This is progress. I'm happy to see people breaking away from the false flag versus real frame of whenever they look at the news. It's a false flag or it's real. There are no false flags. So what Petra here said is, are false flag narratives propaganda streams targeted to the disbelievers? Absolutely. They're rabbit trails. And some people say it's a mix, it's both. No, Until you understand that they're all PR stunts and faked, you won't understand the true purpose, role, and form that media actually has. When you think of media, it's not competing news agencies with journalists, with cameras and ethics and microphones looking to report facts. The screen is not a window to the world, it's a filter. It doesn't inform you about the world, but it's used to conform you to a worldview. And these are your worldview conformers. I have a clip here from JFK Jr. in a hobo costume, or Vincent Fuchsia, actually speaking at a Q event. And I can't look at it on this one because I've been blocked here as well. I gotta stop getting blocked on Twitter. Okay, this is even better. One of the first guys I interview after the alleged Trump assassination is wearing a brick suit. Here's a picture of him. And you know what bricks mean. Bricks is a pile of bricks. Bricks are code for Freemasonry. And this is part of a ritual death, resurrection, King Kill 33 ceremony, as we've been uncovering. The apprentice is now Hiram Abiff Tannen. Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, "Holy S, during Jack Black's concert, his band makes a wish, don't miss Trump next time." This has been a big theme. A lot of people are saying, too bad they missed. A lot of people are lamenting the fact that Trump's not dead. And libs from TikTok and other big accounts are doxing these people and getting them fired left and right. All kinds of people are losing their jobs for being psychopaths. And so many of these psychopaths, these people who are gleeful about the notion of watching a head explode on TV, having that image as a part of our collective psyche for all time, a lot of these bloodthirsty psychopaths look completely normal. But it's not just the Trump deranged, bloodthirsty psychopaths that we need to be worried about, because MAGA is a bloodthirsty cult. Even the nice MAGA grandmas, they're all bloodthirsty. Every single MAGA wants to see Democrat heads chopped off on TV by the military because of tribunals. If you don't believe me, ask your nearest MAGA. Tell them to put down the Q pipe for a moment and explain what's the end game, and they will say, yeah, we want to watch Hillary Clinton get hanged. We want to watch the Democrats all get mowed down by machine guns by Q. It is a bloodthirsty cult. If anyone wants to dispute that, please, put a comment in there. But no, it's a bloodthirsty, domestic violent extremist counterpart to radical Islam. I mean, at least that's what they've created it to be. And I don't think there's any real desire for anything among real normies to do anything along those lines, but they can psyop it. They will create fake events where they create the appearance, and the public will believe it. The public has totally accepted the idea that we have a MAGA stan presence here that's ready to go full-blown jihad against the deep state. And there are some characters that hang around Alex Jones who have said the best thing in the world would be if they kill Trump, because then we can go take out the deep state in retaliation. Just some of the rhetoric. But let me play this. This is Jack Black saying that you shouldn't miss Trump next time.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, Canada. Don't miss Trump next time.
Don't miss Trump next time. And all these people laughing. Very strange. Very, very strange. Anyway, nothing surprising there. They've been, again, symbolically and ritually killing him for a long time. Okay, moving on. We talked about Richard Drew's photograph and how it compares to Douglas Mills and his photography. It's all an inside job. The media psyop entertainment complex or propaganda complex, it's all integrated. All right, let me see who's here in the chat, and then I want to continue to go through my Twitter feed. I have a lot of things earmarked. Consumed by AI, I Suck, Frank Murr, Vinny Barbarino 29, Osher Zinvalis, Ears Up, Exploring Again, Truman B3000 says Tom McDonald had his latest track ready for the psyop. It's called You Missed. Probably had it ready for months. I listened to Tom McDonald's You Missed, and I disagree. I think it took him 10 minutes to write it. And it says You Missed. Well, he jumped the gun because his whole song was about it being a leftist shooter. And none of this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for breaking with the gender binary. I mean, he's just throwing out these right-wing culture war talking points. He puts them all into a probably chat GPT and it spits out rhyming lyrics for him, but it was a total miss. He jumped the gun, no pun intended. It was a Republican. The shooter was a Republican. Now, the phrase jump the gun, I'm pretty sure it means something along the lines of, yeah, I mean, obviously acting too hasty, but the origin of it, I think it has to do with a hunting phrase. Here we go. Somebody starting the race before the starter's pistol has been fired. I see. Zin 666 said, did anyone see They Live Truth video? He shows that it was impossible for Trump to get shot. They Live Truth is Russian vids. And you can trust that guy if you want, but his assessment is incomplete for a lot of reasons. But that's fine. Was it impossible for him to get shot? I don't know. One of the things we have to keep in mind is that they give us these magic shows. They give us these events where you can't just debunk it by looking at what they show you on the screen. And moreover, these events don't take place in isolation. It's not like it's one side tricking the other. It's both sides. It's bigger than people can say. But, you know, is he right about it? It was impossible for him to get shot. You're not going to make that case to the normie. Some armchair conspiracy theorist analyzing the video, that's not going to make the case. I don't think you can visually debunk these things as though it looks fake. Because to us it does. Perhaps cognitive bias, but the truth of it is, to the normies, this stuff is convincing. You realize that most people believed wrestling was real until they had to tell them. So we have to keep in mind that the Normieville perspective on this has zero doubt about the veracity of what the screen proclaims. Mango Penguin says it feels like Sunday Fun Day. Oh yeah, no, things have been pretty fun lately. I'm so glad that we had this assassination attempt happen. Joined by Matt X. Buzz Dean says, what's up? Shannon Jones says, we've known this was coming for a while now. Oh yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for some time. I specifically recall we were talking about Fallout and how there's this Kamala Harris-like character, initials BP, all these significant clues, stolen election of the for control of Revolt 33, and they focus on this foosball character that looks like Trump, and it has a red spot on the right side of the head. And I said, I think I caught a Trump head wound foreshadowing in Fallout. And someone had retweeted that today. But my point is, we've been talking about this for some time. And I had someone say to me once, more than once, would you please stop talking about the Trump head wound? You keep putting it out there. As though I have something to do with it. I mean, this is not a large, popular channel. We might be the most informed. We are the most cutting fringe. But we're not the largest channel. And I thought, why would someone be averse to me talking about what we're actually observing? Because that's what we're doing. We're making observations. We're looking at the big picture as a unified whole. Imagine media is a unified whole. It's monolithic. And everything in it is within a closed system and relates to everything else. So if it's in a movie, if it's in a book, if it's in a comic book that goes mainstream, and it reinforces the dominant paradigm and it contains these clues, that's just part of the structure of how this thing works. Like, these aren't coincidences. You're going to see these things in retrospect, but you also see them real time. Like predictive programming, we're looking a couple of years ago, they started really saturating us with this. But concurrent programming, what do you say about a trailer for Captain America where the president nearly dies? And then, of course, the Julius Caesar connections, July 13th is on top of it, but just the timing of it alone, that's concurrent programming. That's not a coincidence, and there are so many of these. It's so voluminous. All we do is we talk about these movies where, oh look, they killed Trump in Civil War. They killed Trump in A Man in Fool. Oh look, they just killed Trump over here again. So what we're doing here is we're reading the metascript accurately. So none of us are surprised. Okay, Tomanoid says 137, also Harrison Ford's birthday. Yes, plus Captain America trailer and Lincoln at Ford Theater. Oh, Harrison Ford and Ford. Gotcha. Mango says the Secret Service is keeping secrets. Okay, that's another guardrail. The Secret Service wasn't a part of it. in the sense of it being an inside job trying to get Trump. You just have to consider they're all actors and they played their role. They had the characters out there that looked too short to guard Trump because you're supposed to be able to be a shield. They were incompetent, they didn't know how to use their guns, and they were crouching and hiding. Yeah, that's meant to create the perception it was an inside job. Or a DEI thing, which Ann Coulter calls die, and she commented on it. She said, because of these DEI hires, Trump almost got killed. And according to the right wing, DEI means they lowered the standards so women can get the jobs, or minorities can get the jobs, which isn't the case at all. The standards stay the same. It's just talking about other qualifications or considerations when they hire someone. But this has been maligned into a talking point, and they brought it up here as well. So here's the thing. If people are deciding or talking about this, like, well, was it caused by Secret Service malfeasance or negligence? Was it intentional? As long as they're fighting over the nuance, they accepted the big picture. There was a shooting. Who to blame? See, that's misdirection. No one's actually questioning, did it even happen at that point? It's like when the car salesman has you debating with your spouse the color of the car. Yeah, they've already sold you on the lemon. So if you're talking about who done it, did they let him do it? Was it the local police? Was it the Democrats? Was it one of Trump? If you get into the weeds with this, you have bought a lemon. We are joined by Auto Hoaxer. This is where it's at. Diana South says, hello, Raft. Yeah, this is where it's at. Says, as I always ask, who's the photographer? Well, someone dug into it right away, and they found, oh, he just happened to photograph George Bush at 9/11, getting the news whispered into his ear. And maybe that's another connection we should look at, because there are times where it does contain additional levels of nuance. So again, to reiterate, Doug Mills is the photographer who photographed the bullet going by Trump's head, possibly the one that clipped his ear. And he photographed George Bush getting 9/11 whispered into his ear. So there's an ear connection here if you think about it. The right ear of both presidents, 9/11 assassination attempt, are being highlighted in this picture. Same photographer. And then again, this echoes Richard Drew, who photographed RFK as he was shot falling to the ground, and he photographed the 9/11 falling man. So two photographers, each one with an assassination and a 9/11 connection. And okay, here's another one. Richard Drew had the falling man and RFK as he was falling. So you have the falling connecting both of those pictures, and these pictures are connected by the ear. Very interesting. Consumed by AI says, wow, you can't make this up. Apparently somebody did, and they made it up a long time ago. Diana South says, maybe that was Starlink or a UFO angel that saved Donald Trump. Yeah, well, hopefully it wasn't a chemtrail. All right, moving on. Ryler05 says, we need to categorically reject that this event was real because they're shaping the narratives to say Trump was saved by God. This is dangerous. Yeah, this is the Revelation 13 thing, the armor of God thing. This is where it's at. It says, remember the Trump whiskey shot glass. Thomas Matthew Crooks was standing on a building where they manufacture whiskey glasses. Okay. No, you're not reaching if that's the case. I mean, we're talking about a script, and in a good movie, nothing that shows up on the screen is accidental. Everything has a meaning. There's nothing random in a movie done by a professional top director, and we're looking at world-class directors here. Even if their low-level actors often suck. Here's your Trump whiskey glass. He's a teetotaler. He doesn't drink, but he's like, let me endorse and sign a shot glass that has a bullet going into the side of it. I still can't fathom how he arrived at this is a good idea. Why not just sell a Kennedy one and a Lincoln one? The Kennedy would have 3 bullets in it. Okay, moving on. I'm going to catch up on your comments. I tried to get the phones on. They wouldn't work. I might try again later. Diana South says, what kind of camera catches a bullet in flight? Yeah, that's another interesting point here. The luck, like Richard Drew catching the falling man. That's luck. Conscious Daughter CD, did you get the email I sent about BlackRock investments? Oh yes, we talked about that the other day, and I'll pull that up again. The BlackRock commercial that featured the shooter, and TMZ found a video of the shooter bragging about his thing. Really strange. Although I thought it might have a connection. I was going to run this by JL first, because if you remember last year, or in 2022 on 6/11, you had BLM gathered at the Washington Monument, and some guy jumps up and screams, "I am the gun," and then Top Gun was out, and so we were talking about the significance of this, and now we have the gunman, who we've been waiting for, who would be referenced as the top. This is all just, again, kind of a build-up, but I think there might be a connection here. Again, we're still waiting for more facts to arrive, but one of the things I've been focusing on right now is the obvious predictive programming that nullifies anyone's attempt to try to say this was a real event. If you think this is a real event, you don't have enough information to arrive at that, and you're ignoring a whole lot of information that would completely discount that theory. The theory that it was real. It's untenable. There's just no way. The Atlantic thing seals it. And if he comes out and part of his ear has been clipped, yeah, it's over for that whole idea. Zine666 said the Bolshevik fist pump. Bolshevik fist pump. Is it the workers of the world unite? The BLM fist. The raised fist is a very, very common symbol. The Braveheart raised fist. Although you could argue from on some level here, that the workers of the world have united. That they united us with this collective delusion, the worldview, in which we've accepted certain parameters that essentially get us all to acquiesce with this gradual move towards this global communism. Lowercase c. Conscious Daughter says, everyone's calling this out. Reminds me of when people started waking up after the Nipsey Hussle thing. Yeah, this is bringing up a lot of skeptics, and it's important to, I think, maintain our critical breakdown of this entire event, and also take note of how many people are promulgating false flags and misleading theories. We have to fine-tune our arguments and also maintain a pushback against false flag theories, and I'm glad to see that. Truman B3000 says, shooter was wearing a YouTube Demolition Ranch t-shirt. Buzzy says, why is Trump trying to make his base become more extremist? Civil war? I think so. I think the way it works, the left, 2020, went haywire. And that was following the Joker movie. And then the Batman movie foreshadowed a reaction from the right. And I think that's what we're waiting for. Okay, let's see here. Synchromorphia says, photo of the bloody fist raised was taken by the same guy who photographed the Iraqi journalist who threw a shoe at George Bush in 2008. 2 presidential attack scenes. Now, what's the name of the photographer? Is it the same guy? Throwing a shoe. So let me find that one. Okay, so photog. And George W. Bush has great reflexes, by the way. Here we go. George W. Bush shoeing incident. Shoeing. Now I want to find out who took the photograph. And if you can post the name. And you're saying this is the same guy who photographed the other shot. Very, very interesting. Okay, here we go. This is a great avenue of research, to be honest. It's a great avenue of research. Look at the photographers. Look at the production crew. We've done this before with reporters, and we found that certain reporters who cover events are obviously insiders. You can remove the plausible deniability as to the level of awareness about the psyops when it comes to different reporters based on what they've covered. And we have found that those who interview crisis actors are insiders. You can kind of get an idea of who's in the know about the various fake events. Okay, continuing on your comments here. Elephant Tusk says they MK Ultra that kid. Parents or behavioral therapists like a Patsy. The thing is, Patsy, MK Ultra are fake. Those are false flags. There are no Patsies. Nicholas Cruz is not in jail. None of these shooters die. There are no Patsies. These events are fake. From the get-go, they're fake. So, but they give you these stories. Oh, look, MK Ultra, Patsy, BlackRock ties, and they have them wearing a yarmulke. So now all the conspiracy theorists are abuzz with, who's behind it. This is just like JFK all over again. Who did it? The Kennedys, the mafia, Fidel Castro, a crazy guy named Lee Harvey Oswald. Who did it? It's not a who done it, it's a what is it. 9/11, who did it? Was it an inside job? Was it Israel? Was it Muslim terrorists? No, it's not a who done it. It's a what is it? It's a psyop. Stanley Kubrick shot Kennedy with his camera. The attacks on 9/11 were performed by the mass media, the propaganda wing of global government. It was a performance art piece, theater, nothing more. Nobody died. In fact, I had some comments I want to answer about this because someone asked me how they could fake some of this stuff or how they get so many reporters. And one point I want to raise when I get to these questions is there were 88 drills going on during 9/11 2001 about what was going to happen. They already had the personnel out there. They had all these crisis actors and witnesses in place. So there's no mystery as to how they got so many people providing witness instantly. Penguin Doctor said, how did that guy Mark Violet get the name as the shooter first? There's a race. I think there's a race. People try to, I've done it before. I've tried to accuse Marcus Goldfinch and put his face up there with various shootings. I think Matt Hyde, the comedian, has done it for some time. There was this one guy who looks like the shooter, and he put out a video and he got mixed in. Just one of the side effects of everyone having equal access to the collective id, which is the internet. It's pandemonium. King Ravana says, will Donald J go back to Butler, Pennsylvania for Butler 2 on the Rocks? Well, I don't know exactly what his schedule is, but I know he just announced J.D. Vance, and I believe he's going to give a speech here soon. I'm waiting to see his ear. But I think the domino had just been pushed, so we're still waiting to see the rest, what's going to occur as a result of this. We live in a world of auto-believers, and we are informed. The general consensus is misinformed. So you're either misinformed or you're informed, meaning you know what the information is and what is true and false. Or if you don't pay attention, as most are, you're actually under-misinformed. Most people are under-misinformed. But then a big event happens and they quickly catch up. Got to get misinformed. Got to catch up on my misinformation, my dosages. Now, doesn't J.D. Vance have a strange name? Like his birth name was like Bowman? Someone had pointed this out. So James David Vance, and I think they said his real name was Bowman. If that's the case, okay, J.D. Vance was not always his name, because in Space Odyssey, you've got David Bowman. And David Bowman, I believe, is the parallel and basis for David Bowie, the stage character in the Space Oddity. At birth, he was James Donald Bowman. That's all interesting in itself. You got the Donald. Donald Bowman was his father. But anyway, David Bowman, David Bowie, Space Oddity, Space Odyssey, Kubrick connections here. And the shooting we just saw was a Kubrick production. The 45, 47 on the side of his head, the 9/11 connection there. Think about it, a 9/11 above his ear. George Bush is getting whispered, hey, 9/11 just happened, in his ear. This is all symbolism. This is all theater. Okay, let's get through my Twitter feed. I wanted to get through a number of things I had marked. So Colin Rugg has remarks here. This guy has 1.2 million followers, and he's a co-owner of Trending Politics. And here he is remarking that Trump confirms a chunk of his ear is gone. And so I tweeted this Atlantic image at him to show him, look, in the Atlantic it shows his ear clipped. I'm getting a lot of traction on that post. Now, it's not going to, quote, wake anybody up, but it's going to have people thinking. And what would a normie think? Did they plan to shoot his ear off? Was that an intentional act? The normies don't have the right frame of reference to process what we have seen here. It's too specific. Even those who used to say, well, predictive programming is where they foreshadow what they're going to do. That's their usual thing. But no, they couldn't have done it with such specificity. It would have been, this is too perfect of a shot. So my conclusion, or what you can only conclude based off this, if you ask me, is the entire thing was scripted and fake. Anybody have anything else to add to that? Any other possible explanation? Spotted in the south side of Chicago, here's a mural of Donald Trump. The CIA missed. Now, wouldn't it be the FBI? It was the CIA that was beefing with JFK, but the FBI has always been antagonistic towards Trump. Plus, they raided Mar-a-Lago, and he claimed that was an assassination attempt. Human trafficker and accused rapist Andrew Tate said, they found an idiot, they let him on the roof, they let him set up his rifle, they ignored warnings from the crowd about a man with a gun aimed at the president, and they let him take shots. When Trump fell down, they took him out before he could talk. Coup. That is the controlled opposition talking point, the inside job talking point. Andrew Tate is pushing this because he's controlled opposition. Laura Loomer says, Trump's shooting was an inside job. As we now learn, law enforcement knew about the shooter for at least 30 minutes before he opened fire. It's now being reported that law enforcement in Butler, Pennsylvania knew about the shooter and spotted him 30 minutes before. Trump had only been speaking for 20 when he was shot. This is an inside job. That's from Laura Loomer. And there were people who had pointed this out, and again, this is part of the show. It's part of what keeps you from calling it fake. This is kind of comical. You have Australian media noticing that the left wing of the American media has incredibly, they've gone really far this time. They've made these incredible headlines, just downplaying it like you wouldn't believe. Like, an incident happened. There was a noise. There was a disruption. But they did whatever they could to avoid saying assassination attempt.
Already huge divide in the United States of America. But if you were following media outlets like CNN today, well, you would have thought that Donald Trump had a fall. Look at this headline. Secret Service rushed Trump off stage after he falls at rally. Falls. It was an assassination attempt.
Again, they said he fell. It was an assassination attempt. He's not Joe Biden, she says. This is pretty funny. But anyway, it goes on how she was catching these headlines. Trump injured in incident at rally. Fascinating. It's all meme warfare. That's pretty much what it comes down to, meme warfare. Okay, here we go. Pharmacy employee in Texas made a statement about how damn they missed regarding Trump. This was highlighted by Libs of TikTok, who has 3.2 million followers, and they got the person fired. There's a whole list of them. There's a whole list of people that are being doxxed on Twitter. Bar owners, teachers, nurses, and they're all losing their jobs. Okay, here's the shooter in the Black Rock ad.
My name is Brian DeLallo. I teach AP and Honors Economics in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Financial well-being to me is knowing that I can be free to do the things that I love to do. I hope when I retire someday, they say, you know, that guy made this place a special place to come to school and gave.
There he is. Okay. There he is. And I pointed this out the other day. There's a 33 on the wall here, and his buddy has a 666 on his shirt. I don't know if that's connected or not, but this just shows that he is a cast member, part of the World Stage Theater acting troupe. Not a patsy, not MK Ultra. No, no, no. He's like Nick Cruz and all the others. In fact, there was one moment Nick Cruz was talking to his lawyer. They were laughing. Like he wasn't the usual crazy, sullen, almost catatonic individual. He seemed like he was normal. And I think it's because they didn't know the cameras were rolling. Like we're not being hyperbolic here when we say we're looking at actors, when we're looking at theatrical productions. A number of people have noted that right when this event happened, Trump had just pointed his hand up and it perfectly touches the nose of JFK Jr. in that hideous, aged John Denver costume, or as I've been calling him, the QAnon hobo. So this has QAnons a buzz. So it's not going to go away. You know, if you thought they were going to outgrow it, or if Q fanfic was too cringe and eventually they were going to let up on it, nope. It's here to stay. Okay, I want to get through my comments. Alex Jones, by the way, is up here hyping how they're going to use a tactical nuke to kill Trump. They're going to assassinate him next, if not by a tactical nuke with poison. They're going to kill Elon Musk, and they're going to kill, I think with some kind of electromagnetic system in microwaves, they're going to kill Tucker Carlson. So let me go and play this clip. This is Alex Jones, totally sane.
Microwaves. This country is in a war with globalists, not a civil war. We are an occupied country. This is not a normal campaign. We're not in Kansas, folks. So listen to me. Trump's going to go. He's John Wayne for real. He's going to go to Milwaukee. He's there. They're going to do it all. And if you don't think the deep state isn't desperate enough to roll a truck with plastic explosives into that building, you got nothing coming.
Okay, plastic explosives in a truck, megaton bombs. I'm just going through the list here, but he does mention that they're going to kill Elon Musk, which is pretty sad. All right, moving on. This is getting very dramatic. I agree. As T Latte says. Psy Girl says closely remembers the Illuminati playing card. Oh yeah, with the streak going across. And the Illuminati playing card has all kinds of clues in it. It's even got the COVID balls in the back. Rilo05 says that Fuchsia guy never takes his hat off or changes the way he looks, and he always looks the same. I agree. I agree. I mean, imagine being in an elevator with him and the QAnon shaman. Hope you wear a mask. You know, if you don't have a mask, you'd hopefully crack a window. I don't know. These guys, I call him the QAnon hobo. It's a weird look. Anyway, I think it's strange that he's allowed people to believe that he's JFK Jr. and he's just getting the groupies based off. He's stealing JFK Jr.'s groupies. If JFK Jr. is still alive, imagine how he feels watching people like Vincent Fuchsia, Negative 48, 107, Edward X, taking his thunder, taking his fan base. Unbelievable. Like how Elvis feels watching bad Elvis impersonators. John Wayne for real, yeah. Water Walking says Trump and the other shooter were seen talking backstage in the locker room together. Yeah, Vincent Fuchsia's JFK Jr. Trump is JFK. Depends on who you ask. The QAnon fan fiction is always morphing. It's totally reality fluid. And they believe their own fan fiction. The QAnon sense, the Quniverse. It is its own reality. A lot of people are still sharing this image of Trump from The Simpsons, dead in a coffin. We have an axiom here, number 77. Auto hoax all Simpsons predictive programming. These are all false leads. It's truth or bait, and it's meant to discredit legitimate meta script breakdown. The fact that we were able to predict this and be ready for it just shows you that, yeah, we know what we're doing. But then you have all these randos throwing in their 2 cents, and none of them know what they're doing. They don't have a methodology. In fact, they are auto disbelievers. They automatically reject the mainstream and they automatically believe. They consume whatever breadcrumbs are thrown their way. No discernment. And a lot of them are liars who make up their own evidence all the time. It's pretty sad. Okay, here's an example of some Trump deranged psychopath also mad that the shooter missed.
What was your thoughts about the assassination attempt?
They missed.
They missed.
They missed.
Do you
Yeah, he should have died. He's not good for this country, and he never will be.
Wow.
Ever. He's the worst person that could be ever in politics. He's not even.
Very common opinion. At least they're not trying to hide it anymore, the left. Like, the left isn't anti-gun. They're anti-gun for their opponents. It's all about power. Okay, breaking. Man who tried to kill Donald Trump was spotted on the roof 30 minutes before the shooting. Again, that's your controlled opposition talking point. Now, this is hardly worth giving any airtime to, but Nazi groomer Nick Fuentes is mad about J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance has a, quote, non-white wife and a, quote, mixed-up family. And this is coming from someone who is himself not exactly racially pure. So he's a walking double standard himself, but he's totally miffed about this.
A non-white wife, an Indian wife, and a kid named Vivek. All his kids have Indian names. So it's like, what exactly are we getting here? And that's not a dig at him just because I'm a racist or...
No, this is the guy who had been hired to be Kanye West's campaign manager, and they had dinner with Trump. Trump said he was a great guy. Not so much anymore. But he's having some kind of a crisis because he's built his entire adult identity. I mean, he just went from, I guess, high school to the internet. So he has no life experience. And the best he can do is cosplay as a white supremacist and imitate Trump. And he does the Trump hand accordion thing when he talks. And I notice he's acting very Trumpian. And if his idol betrays him, he's going to have his sense of identity shattered. Again, BlackRock hosting this guy in a video. I'm waiting to see if he shows up in a Sandy Hook video. Maybe he's a grown-up Sandy Hook kid. FBI ramping up its targeting of gamers. Anyway, some more psychopaths. So look at this completely normal face. This is Jennifer Ripper from Semper Elementary School. And she's very upset the shooter missed. She said, looks like he almost got taken out. I'm a teacher. I think for myself and want others to do the same. Damn it, they missed. So this teacher, as a response to their reports from libs of TikTok, which they sent to the parents, apparently she got fired. We hope this email finds you a restful summer. And it goes on to explain social media posts that are unprofessional have consequences. But it is kind of gratifying to see a bunch of these psychopaths getting their jobs taken away. Granted, the event was fake, but their reaction is real. I mean, keep this in mind. We know it's fake, but they think that we were this close to seeing a head explode on national television for women, children, elderly, innocent, normal people to see. And for all time, we could have HD, high definition head explosions just right there in our collective psyche. Like, that would be traumatic. It would be horrible. But a lot of people wanted that. So just keep in mind that this is what media fundamentalism does. Mass media is a religion, and it makes you want to see your enemies murdered. It's a hateful cult. It's a doomsday cult. In fact, they believe the world's ending because the other side. The left thinks the right is killing us with climate change, end times, neo-eschatology. It's just part of the cult of scientism. But the right thinks the left is going to kill us because they're sinners, and they're going to bring about the wrath of God on the fringe. On the fringe, I'm saying, and we're actually in a very fringy world. We're operating at the fringe level at this point, peak fringe. There's no moderates. There's no moderation. There's no conservatives. Not that I've seen. They're all cult members, and this is a, a global, unified government media apparatus. It's monolithic. So you can get rid of the idea of competing countries. Like, did Russia send the shooter? No, nobody's competing. America tricked Russia with the moon landing to win the space race. No, they're colluding. They share a fake space station. It's safe to say they share fake everything else. Zinvella says, Fuentes must think Trump looks really hot right now. Nick Fingar says, I bartend in a very liberal part of town, worked 13 hours yesterday. I didn't hear anyone talk about it, no one. Yeah, that's another point to consider here. Normieville's asleep, and they don't pay attention. They're what I call the under-misinformed. So if you're paying attention, you're misinformed. It's a misinformed world by design. But most people are under-misinformed. And when a big event happens, they rapidly catch up. But they don't catch up as media critics, becoming informed about the misinformation. No, they absorb misinformation. So in other words, they're not paying attention. And this makes the propaganda go down better, because people assume, well, whatever I missed happened. And I'm not seeing anyone talking about it. No one. It's almost like people are asleep. And this is why truthers are always so agitated, because they're aware of everything as it's happening, and then everyone else around them is like weeks, months behind. I heard someone the other day, they were in a conversation and someone mentioned frazzle drip, and like, what's that? Like, if you don't know what frazzle drip is, you're 8 years behind on your misinformation. Okay, moving on. Penguin Doctor says this is the definition of spell casting. Yes, well, here's the main thing that people miss, and truthers miss this, is that there is no left media, right media at this level. I mean, you have a lot of competition at the bottom, but there's a point at the top where they're both agreeing. Like, left doesn't psyop the right and vice versa. It's the top psyoping both sides. January 6th was fake. Nobody died. Nobody cried. Ashley Babbitt's not dead. If that bothers you, you're psycho. I'm not bad for saying she's not dead. You're psycho for wanting Ashley Babbitt dead. I have nothing against her. People are like, how dare you say those kids didn't die? Well, why do you want all those kids to be dead? So you can virtue signal? Like, you should be happy. You should be happy Ashley Babbitt's alive. But anyway, my point of it is, nobody died. The speech Trump was giving was still happening when the ruckus started at the Capitol. There's a 45-minute walk from the ellipse to the Capitol. So if you were just a normal person participating in the Trump rally there in that speech, you wouldn't have made it on time to have done any insurrectionist stuff. It was a closed movie set. This too is a closed movie set. And the mass media globally, this apparatus creates a worldview that we all share, unless you opt out of it. And you're in it. This is your worldview. You're in the simulation, unless you've opted out. And if you're a truther and you're on the fringe of conspiracies, but you're not going far over the guardrails, if you're still buying into false flag theories, you're still in the simulation. Rooster Cogburn says, I talked to someone yesterday, they hadn't heard about Trump either. That's how this thing is maintained. They want you to be indifferent, apathetic, and also not up to speed like we are. Real-time media analysis. No, they want you to be catching up and let them, they want you to be spoon-fed. What's up with the ear, says Conscious Daughter? Yeah, I've been thinking about the ear. A number of people have found some things like Julius Caesar, lend me your ear. And I think the ear thing also has a connection to the secret societies. I was told when I was in a cult I was in the Thelemic cult. It's called the Abbey of Thelema. But they told me that Kabbalah meant mouth to ear, and it referred to the secret traditions that weren't spoken aloud. I don't know if that's exactly true. Originally, the doctrines transmitted from mouth to ear. I don't know how precise of a translation that is, but that's what I was told it meant. QBL, Hebrew word meaning mouth to ear, a secret oral tradition. Meaning QBL meaning to receive, or alternately mouth to ear. So it's both. So it either means, and again, Kabbalah is the enigmatic mystery aspect of the Jewish doctrines, but it's a mystic or a mystical system of examining holy texts and finding meaningful connections between things, suggesting some kind of divine structure to reality encoded in the words and numbers. But mouth to ear. So we'll go back to the picture of George Bush. You have mouth to ear. Same photographer that shot this photo has the photo of Trump getting shot in the ear. So that's a pretty strong link. Truman B3000 says, I was in downtown Milwaukee near the RNC. It's a police state maze. Warn the police that Alex Jones says that there's going to be a truck full of plastic explosives. Streets blocked, military vehicles all over. Military posted up around power infrastructure. Took 45 minutes to get out of the maze. Thank you. Real-time reporting. In fact, if you want a press pass, go to ko-fi.com/Tim Osman. It's ko-fi. I'll put a link below. If you want to order press passes, 2 more went out. Those are going to be very important very soon. You will want to get your unlockdownable credentials. You're essential if you're media. You know, there could be a fallout, radioactive fallout. Everybody has to stay home except for media. Okay, thank you, Synchromorpheus. We have an image of Trump with the bandage on his ear.
Trump.
Sounds like Trump singing. Does anyone else think that sounds like Trump singing? Yeah, here he is. He's got the bandage on his ear. Very dramatic.
Tomorrow all the things were gone. I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again. Just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today.
Fascinating. This is going to be good. Duchess of Success says, finally, Trump surrounded by tall male Secret Service agents. Wow. More to come for sure. You know, if I can get my phones working, I'm sure I will. Anyway, I'm trying to make this go viral, by the way. If you follow me on Twitter, I want this picture of Trump with a clipped ear from the Atlantic to go viral. This is, again, one of the clearest examples of predictive programming manifesting as what it predicted specifically. There were some people who are saying, no, they're not going to shoot Trump. It's just going to be a cognitive decline, an ego blow. It's all symbolic. Nope, sorry, there's going to be blood. And there is blood. Travis Cloud said, surprised he didn't walk out to Many Men Playing. Right. All right, let me go ahead and read the comments from the other YouTube channel. A number of things that some wanted me to address. Okay, here we go. XSABRIX said, first you say nothing's in the sky, and now you're saying you'll get all these people to record something in the sky, laughing, crying emoji. By the way, people who use laugh, cry emojis as though it emphasizes their point are generally insecure, and it's just an appeal to ridicule. It doesn't add anything. It's like using all caps. Like, I'm sorry, but your emoji doesn't help here. The reason why we're doing an observation is because truth fears no investigation. And I have no problem testing my claims. And I noticed that there aren't any motivated globe defenders routinely going out and taking ISS selfies. Why aren't ISS selfies a thing? If there's a space station flying over your head every 90 minutes, and you're willing to tell me that you've seen it, that, yeah, I see it all the time. Oh, really? Is the ISS in the room with you right now? Is it here with us? So many people claim they have seen this thing. And I'm like, where are the ISS selfies? So we decided, let's just do this. Let's get as many people as we can in the third week of July involved in a mass ISS eyewitness event where we're all going to attempt to record it on the same orbit. Well, if there's nothing in the sky, what do you think they're going to record? And what will that do? Well, one of two things is going to happen. One, it's going to make a believer out of me. Or two, there's going to be a lot of people wondering, where's the space station? So we'll see who has a laughing face emoji last. The Grievance Gordy Show says, another auto hoax called from Trump Shot 713. Yes. Jason Matthews said, so now the predicted survive thing seems to have happened. The eye with Rusty, or, oh yeah, that's right. It was, we've been talking about these other similar events. Salman Rushdie, 33-year fatwa, $3.3 million hit, gets stabbed probably 33 times, but had the eye injury. Although it was ear, not eye. Now, what does that mean? Do you think says, doesn't mean cloud seeding isn't real. Yeah, well, cloud seeding is not the same thing as chemtrails. We're done with that. We'll deal with chemtrails after the ISS. First, we bring down the ISS, then we bring down chemtrails. We are going to cure chemtrail lung. Jungle Surfer says, Stormy is a post-op very simple. Oh, Jungle Surfer. Jungle Surfer must be referring to the transvestigationology theorists who claim that all men are women and all women are men. Or when you're talking about celebrities. And I'm saying it's debunked. That it's never been bunked. It's never been established as real. And the first time you show them evidence, they say, oh, no, that's not it. But I don't know. I would have to look closely. I'm not interested in the subject, but if you want to make the case, the evidence is there. Thinks he's a penguin says Michael Jackson came back as Dave J. No, he came back as Dave, not Dave J. NORAD aircraft running drills today in Milwaukee, Wisconsin ahead of the RNC, says Truman B., who also has a live report from downtown. All tanks, all blocked off and defended. Do you think says the ISS is simply CGI? That last caller had a cool story. Add enough 405 says Satan T minus NASA. Okay, anagram. I see it. And the NASA logo has the Satan tongue on it. Okay, thank you for those comments. Again, if you're subscribed to the main channel, I frequently read the comments live, and I am producing, or will be producing, a lot more content for members only here in the near future. It's been a very busy week or month. We were getting ready for this ISS transit thing I'm setting up, and then they went ahead and pulled the trigger on the Trump psyop, so we kind of diverted to that, but I'm glad. Riley05 says, is fakeologist still a transvestigator? I don't know. I don't know if I've met any recovered TVs. They kind of, once they're stuck on it, nothing can disprove it. But if nothing can disprove your theory, it's unfalsifiable. If it's unfalsifiable, it's garbage. Just ditch it. If you can't prove it wrong. Okay, here's a photo of Trump and J.D. Vance shaking hands. J.D. Vance was a never Trumper who said he doesn't like Trump, would never vote for Trump, but he had a change of heart. And there's Trump with his ear bandage. People noticed that there was a lot of effort at the time of the shooting by the SS to get Trump's hat and put it back in his hand, and they were all scrambling for the hat. And I think it's because they were hiding the squib. I haven't checked yet. If you know anybody who owns a MAGA hat, see if you can borrow it for a moment and squeeze it between the 45 and the 47 and see if any blood comes out. Now, it'll be theatrical blood. It might even be ketchup. But if you have a MAGA hat with the 4547, see if it comes with a squib built in. Because I think they were trying to hide the squib. All right, moving on here. Tons of comments. Clockwork113 says IPS, the realest S on the internet. Yeah, look, we are cutting fringe. We're the most advanced media analysts. We're not hung up on caring about fake dead people. We're not in the political horseshoe. We're not in the info war. We're not the reactionary anti-position. I'm anti-anti. If you're an anti or you're a pro, you're not on our side. You're on the wrong side of the glass. I don't care if you're a anti-blank because it makes you seem like you're fighting a good cause. No, you're part of a controlled dialectic. You're a foot soldier in the info war. You're not anti-war. You're a warmonger. You're an info warmonger. You're a propaganda mule. Weaving spiders come not here. Off-world stage is a place for inner peace. And if inner peace is a lot for you to swallow, if you can't relax because you're too agitated by what's on the screen, then you're mind controlled. You're fire and brimstone, end times level religiosity. But you're religious over the MSM. It's become a cult at this point. And it is a cult. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. Diana South says, if there was a tiny cut on the superior aspect of the ear, why cover the whole thing with ear muffins? Well, we'll get some close. Here's a close-up. Thank you again, Synchro Morpheus. This is a close-up of Trump's ear with the bandage. Looking kind of Elvis-y here. And when Trump was on the ground, with the blood drips coming down his face, and his collar popped up, it looked like Elvis sweating during a performance. I believe Synchro also posted some images of that. Buzzing Fret said, Pro Wrestling X1000. Isn't he WWE Hall of Fame? Lean Dion says, I think they put the fake blood on him when he had SS piled on top. Yeah, I think they had a makeup artist in the podium. And when he was down, they applied it. Heinz47 says Zin Valis. Just an ear mask, says Mango Penguins. Well, they were using ear masks in Hot Skulls, which was a parody on COVID, where you caught the virus by hearing it spoken because they were mind viruses, so the government mandates lockdowns and everyone has to wear earplugs. Conscious Daughter says, I was traumatized by media as a child. You should be able to sue media for mental anguish. We should just do a mass collect, what do you call it, a class action lawsuit. Have you been traumatized by mass media psyops? I mean, this is propaganda designed to traumatize you. IPS, you need to make hoodies with penguins on them and an IPS logo for the winter to keep people warm, says Water Walking. Actually, if you go to Amazon.com and you search the brand Infinite Plane Society, I have a collection. So let me go ahead and put a link up here for you. So if you look at the screen, I have t-shirts and hoodies, and the brand name that I sell under is Infinite Plane Society. Here's an example. And a lot of this artwork is AI generated. This is a cyberpunk, or no, more of a steampunk penguin. But I have of course shirts, hoodies, tote bags. Some of these are really neat. I actually hadn't even taken the time to really go through it. I produce this stuff when I have time. I don't have time to manage my own store, so I outsource to Amazon. I have a merchant account there. But there's a wide array of Infinite Plane Radio, Infinite Plane Society, swag, totes, and maybe a few hats. Oh, this is a good one. This is a shirt that I had made that has the Twin Towers made of words, and it says, Kite hit steel plane, must kite hit steel plane. Must. You would only get this if you knew what they were saying in that photograph of Bush with the mouth to ear message being passed on to him from the Douglas Mills photo. These children were actually chanting that at the time. Anyway, let me put a link below if you want to go through the Amazon store. And I even have the paper mache alien. You know the alien that they showed in some congressional hearing or something in Mexico? The paper mache alien, as Salty Siren designated it. It looks like a little ET, but I put it on a shirt and it says believe. I have 5 pages. Here's an IPS take on the NPR logo. Some designs here by X-Pac. Anyway, there are 5 pages of Infinite Plane Society, Infinite Plane Radio, Research Flat Earth. There's your link. So if you want to go ahead and go to Amazon, just click that link. Again, you can just search Amazon for Infinite Plane Society. Diana South says, nobody would be applying a Band-Aid like that. Maybe a bad makeup artist, but not a medical person. Maybe it's for drama. Or maybe he did have some maybe they did some kind of surgery. Ryler05 says, AI is the demon, Tim. You know, AI is a glorified search engine. Scott Rankin says, good catch, Tim. Elvis in his fat Vegas days. Till says, do you believe in reincarnation, and if so, do you believe we humans ever lived in true reality without scripted events? Interesting question. You know, reincarnation, or maybe a continuity of existence after your body expires, I think it's almost a given based off of my own personal experiences. A lot of it anecdotal. I can't really claim to know for sure, but I suspect that death is a hoax. Spoiler alert, you're not going to die. I just don't know what happens next. But I get the idea based on the cult that runs this place, that their whole system is built on the idea of reincarnation, or rather I don't know if it's like cyclic. According to Pythagoras, there was a 216-year period between lives. But whatever the case is, I think that maybe the realm we're in has always been defined by scripts, by lies. I call it the lie world order, but I call it that because our worldview is fundamentally based on lies. The lying is systemic. The lies that form our internal concept of the world by the media are no different than the lies that constrained worldviews through religions previously. So I think what we have now is a one world religion that unified all the previous ones. But no, I don't think that I'm not quite sure exactly how to say this other than perhaps maybe the temporal realm, incarnation is itself defined by a totally scripted reality. That without the script, I mean, perhaps it's even the case that, like, if you believe that matter is a substrate of mind, maybe the script comes first. And that would explain why there's such an effort to control our attention, our focus, and the narratives that shape our lives. But as far as the reincarnation thing, I kind of get the idea that we are tuned into this when we're living in the world. We're essentially light beings or spiritual beings that are slowed down into this denser realm, and that in this slower, denser 3D realm, we can't even sense our origins. But I don't think we're separate. Like, I don't think there's a soul occupying a body. I think body's just the densest part of the soul. I have a few ideas on it, but again, as it relates to all of this, simply that beneath the mainstream media bread and circuses and the psyops, the endless psychological warfare, there is the subtext. There is the esoteric. There's the occult, the ritualistic. Almost like they're trying to show us the way out. Or if you have eyes to see, ears to hear, you can just pick up by looking around what this place is. Thirst for Truth posts Shiba Dog shaking his hips saying thank you. Appreciate the $9.99 super chat, keeping gas in the tank. All right, if you want to go to Amazon, again, there's some links. There's 216 people listening. And I mentioned 216 a minute ago. That's the Phoenix cycle. Just a little background. Pythagoras accepted every facet of reincarnation, expanding on the concept, adding that there were 216 years between each reincarnation. 216 is 6 cubed, or 6 times 6 times 6. And 666, number of man, carbon, it seems to be that 666 cube, Saturn stuff, is all about the material realm, and that it has to pertain to the idea of incarnation. So the idea that 216 would relate to this makes a lot of sense to me. The 216th day of the year is Obama's birthday, interestingly, 8/4. And we've been discussing the significance of birth dates with these various world leaders, which are never coincidental. You know, Hakeem Jeffries was also born on 8/4. First black Speaker of the House, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries, minority leader of the House of Representatives, rather. Minority leader. But he was born on 8/4. I'm like, that's kind of interesting. First black president, also 8/4. I don't think these are real dates. I think this is all part of their never-ending obsession with numbers and codes. But yeah, born on August 4th, 1970. All right, continuing here. How about the shirt with ISS Believe on it? Yeah, I made that shirt, and I replaced the UFO with the ISS because I believe that the basis for believing in the space station is ufology level assessment. Like, if you believe in UFOs, that these are somehow mysterious, then you might be susceptible to ISS belief, or the lie SS. And I made this point the other day. You don't get to call it a UFO. You don't get to point at some light in the sky and say, that's a UFO. That's an alien. Or it might be. I'm sorry, but the pilot might disagree with you. Just because it's unidentified to you doesn't mean it's unidentified. So that's not even a good term at all. It contains the loaded premise that it's not known because I don't know. As though you can just look at it and you would know. Oh yeah, that's a fill in the blank make and model. No, you wouldn't know from a light in the sky. It's ambiguous. They play on this. These psyops play on our confusion, ambiguity, lack of certainty. They create what I call the fog of Psywar. And we are here clearing the fog. We're doing the ISS observation operation to clear the fog. We're done with maybe Bigfoot. Maybe Bigfoot logic. Oh, it might be Bigfoot, might be a squirrel. Sorry, but there's an order of magnitude between making the claim it's a squirrel in the forest, or it might be this hypothetical supernatural being that nobody's ever seen. Maybe logic is like hearsay or see-say. It's secondhand, or it's not like secondhand, but it's like it's not primary evidence, and it shouldn't be treated as such. If somebody says, I saw a light, it might be the space station, it might be a plane, throw their evidence in the trash. Like, come back when you can say with certainty what you have. But you shouldn't be bringing questions to the table. You bring evidence to the table. If there's still a question, you need to make more observations. Truthers have confused the search for truth with merely aggregating questions. No, it's about asking questions and getting the answers, not aggregating questions and walking around like the Riddler, just confusing people. All right, moving on here. Yeah, I'm the Bigfoot blocker. I'm the God blocker. I'm the AI God blocker. Really such a buzzkill. And then we're offering spoilers. Like, no listener of IPR who's been fully, and you're all fully mind war inoculated. You've had all the boosters. You know, every time you listen, it's another booster. None of you fell for this. We spoiled it for you. You didn't get to have the ups and downs. Your heart didn't drop. Like, we kind of took a lot of the drama out of it. Nurse here Jackie RN says she finds it weird that Trump or his physician haven't advised the American people on the extent of his injuries or the specific treatment he's received. Here's an interesting catch. Again, this is from There Already Here. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears, from the play Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare. And as we mentioned earlier, in 2016 they did Shakespeare in the Park and they killed Donald Trump in Central Park. Shakespeare in the Park show features a stabbing of Donald Trump. The performance comes after a photo of comedian, oh, she's a comedian? Kathy Griffin posing with the severed head, bearing the resemblance of the president. So here's an image of Donald Trump dead on the ground from 2016. So we're looking at something here that has been misconstrued for so long. Predictive programming builds an immersive illusion. It propagandizes and advertises ideas and themes and archetypes 24/7. That's all it does, and it feeds your mind the content it needs to accept the news as real. Synchromysticism, which is essentially a way of saying that these are divinely inspired or divinely caused coincidences, that needs to go. False flag theory needs to go. Anything MSM plus needs to go. Any knee-jerk reactionary response to mainstream news needs to go. Twitter is flooded with noise. The signal to noise ratio, it's abysmal. You can't get any truth out of it. You're like, oh, look, these people are sharing stuff. Oh, I know it's fake 'cause it's on The Simpsons. Well, The Simpsons evidence is fake. So they're constantly being hit with truth or bait. There's no discernment in Trutherville. Lean Dion says, the weird lines of blood on Trump's face don't make sense, except maybe to look symbolic. Some have noted that they look like a serpent's tongue. And I agree with that. It looks like a serpent's tongue. The whole snake thing, which has been strongly associated with Trump. Again, the ear thing, very intriguing. Lend me your ears. Mouth to ear. Same photographer that photographed Trump getting shot at, photographed Bush getting 9/11 whispered into his ear. And above Trump's ear is a 9/11 with the 4547. 9/11. There's a succinctness to it all. So who's the photographer that photographed the Iraqi journalist throwing a shoe? We never quite got that. I want to go through and look at his other photos. But yeah, these AP photographers getting these historic shots just perfect. I would say that these are instances of probably insiders who have, I don't know how they get these gigs, but I'm trying to find the photographer's name. We'll get that and I'll put it in the show notes below. I wanted to take calls today, but the phone systems are down. Not on my end. Over there at Blog Talk Radio, they have some kind of gremlin infestation. Gremlins chewing the wires. Terrorism expert says political violence likely in Michigan ahead of November election. When have they ever been right? They didn't predict this. Okay, here's Synchromorpheus. He said templates. The blood sweat dripping and the towel looks like the jumpsuit collar flipped up. Look at the Trump Elvis connections. Pretty crazy. And okay, we were looking at the Trump 45 shot glass a minute ago. And one of the most requested photos from the National Archives is Richard Nixon and Elvis, where Elvis shows up to give Nixon a Colt 45. So the Colt 45, and then Trump becomes President 45. Here's the Colt 45. So this interesting connection with the 45, the gun, the presidency, and Elvis. And here's Trump looking very Elvis-like. That is very Elvis-y. Definitely a template. Good catch there. All these photos are intentional. They're meant to look like what they look like. They're meant to recall similar events. We're meant to see Trump as Mel Gibson, Braveheart. Here's the guy with the brick costume. He was the first person interviewed.
It was hoping that it was a prank, and it does not appear from the reactions that it was. When I look back, I saw the Secret Service up on the stage protecting the president and doing the best that they could, just springing into action like the selfless people that they are.
Did you see blood on his ear?
Above his ear. Above his ear. It did not look like he was bleeding from his ear. And everybody in the front row, we were just all started praying for him.
And you took cover. I mean, everybody up here too kind of got down. You didn't get down at all? When did you see move in pretty quickly? Did you see the police move in?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if they're being interviewed and they're eyewitnesses, I tend to think these are also questionable. When there's a shooting like this, for example, why would you assume there's only one shooter? That's a very unsafe assumption. Some random person, possibly politically motivated, starts shooting people, and then they take them out. Then everyone relaxes, the media comes out, they do interviews. How do you know there's not a second shooter or a third waiting? They're too comfortable getting out and doing these interviews. Just like after the fake school shootings, same thing. They're getting interviews with kids. It's like, you're putting your face on the screen for the world to see as a witness to a massacre that hasn't been investigated yet. And there may be other shooters on the loose, so you've made yourself a target. And that also presumes the parents signed a waiver. But I find all of these questionable. If they're being interviewed, they're part of the production process. Wearing a suit of bricks, that's as Mason-y as you can get. All right, moving on. Again, the photographer's name, Doug Mills. Look up Doug Mills. Too perfect. Daily Caller, a bloodied Trump stands tall, appears to shout fight after the apparent assassination attempt. So here's what I posted. June 14th, on Trump's birthday, I posted this. Fallout, Season 1, Episode 5. There you have Trump with the blood on, and this is blood because they just cleaned up a massacre. And it was sponsored by this, or set up by this Kamala Harris type who goes by Betty Pearson. She was part of the cleanup. So the one spot of blood they miss is on Trump's head. Again, BP, her initials like Brock Purdy. BP is 216, connection to Obama, his birthday. We talked about this a while ago. But the overseer, Betty Pearson. And so in the scene, massacre occurs, it was cleaned up, and there's one drop of blood in the whole room, and it happens to be on this little figurine of Donald Trump. So we've been expecting this. We've been expecting this. The other day we talked about The Boys, Season 4, Episode 8, the guy who represents the president with the blood on his face, smiling for the cameras. We have so many examples. This is where it's at, says, the fight 3 times. Oh no, Lean Dion says, the fight 3 times is a Q reference. Yeah, I brought that up. You have this image of Trump with his eyes glowing, fists raised, fight, fight, fight. And that's been connected. So the QAnoners have a lot of breadcrumbs to put in their Q pipes. And they are hitting it. And they're hitting that hard tonight. Here's an image of Travis Bickle, as in Robert De Niro, pointing a finger at his head. And there he is below as Frank Murrah killed by the Joker. Again, the Joker is based on Taxi Driver. So here he is as presidential assassin. And then here he is being assassinated with the headshot. Robert De Niro, who is outside the Trump courthouse. And this connects, of course, to John Hinckley with JFK's birthday, who shot Reagan because he was inspired by this movie and even dressed like Robert De Niro. So you have these strong connections between De Niro, an assassin, and then De Niro being symbolically assassinated as Donald Trump, as he was here and in the movie Machete, where he was shot at the podium after talking bad about illegal immigrants, just like he was before Trump got shot. So again, this is just another example of how we've been going through predictive programming for months and months and months, and this has been a reoccurring topic. Here's the card, Enough is Enough, and it looks like a bullet whizzing by at ear level. There you have it. In the background, it does look like little COVIDs, but we've been examining this for some time, these Illuminati playing cards. And yeah, that is exactly a bullet whizzing by at ear level. Okay, here's another example. You have the Marine War Memorial, and you see the soldiers raising the flag, leaning over at this maybe 30-degree angle. They're all leaning over, some of them falling over. And then you compare it here to the image of Trump raising his fist with the flag behind him, and it's the same alignment practically. It's practically the same alignment. So this is a template. I believe this is exactly what they do on purpose. They create these events in advance. We saw a lot of this with January 6th. January 6th, every one of the shots we got was staged to look like the fall of Rome, to look like barbarians. That's why you had the Q shaman with his horns. Okay, let's see. Phones are closed, unfortunately, but we're going to be open phones tomorrow, possibly earlier. I'll send out a newsletter tonight with any kind of updates. I'm just working on a few things. I did get a letter from the court, so there's an update there for anyone who's wondering. Because 7/22 was supposed to be our case management conference, but it's been pushed back to Halloween. But this is good news, if you ask me. Again, this is the lawsuit, myself versus Google and Marcus Goldfinch. And this has been an ordeal going back to 2017, 2018. But anyway, the next stage is we have a case management conference where we discuss what needs to be brought into or brought to the table so we can have the trial happen in an orderly way. What needs to be discovered, what needs to be subpoenaed, who else needs to be dragged into this. So it's kind of it's a pre-trial conference. So we're going to trial, is what I'm saying. I am going to go to Redwood City, California at some point, but I will be going to trial versus Google LLC, Marcus Goldfinch, where they will be, I don't know how they're going to defend against this. If they're smart, they'll probably settle before, but their attempts at dismissing my case have all failed. So that's why it's good news. It's good news. They couldn't dismiss it because it has merit and nobody disagrees on the material facts. Namely, that a crime was committed, fraud was committed, among other things. So there's no dispute there. I think it should just be automatically judged, a summary judgment, and I requested it. And I'll request it again separately and see if I can make that happen sooner, because I don't think it should have to go to trial. But I'm happy if it does. So I'm perfectly fine with this outcome. 10/31/2024 at 9 a.m. in the Department of the Civil Commissioner. We'll be having a pre-trial meeting. Myself, Google's attorneys, and possibly Marcus Goldfinch, hopefully by Zoom from a jail cell by that time, which is a very distinct possibility. He's going to be revealed in discovery in the Hunter Biden versus Garrett Ziegler case. They're trying to find out who funded Ziegler, who hacked the computer. That is already in the process. So Goldfinch is going to be doxxed long before. And so it wouldn't surprise me if that is the outcome we get. And that would be the best outcome. Okay, any other final comments here before we take off? I'm going to send out archives tonight. Usually I've been falling behind by a couple of days, but we're totally caught up. The main developments tonight, the photographers. Big clues, additional levels of fakery. Harrison Ford, born on 7/13, the day of the shooting, Julius Caesar's birthday. In Captain America, the trailer just came out, the same day or right thereabouts, and it has the same situation. Attempted assassination of a president. He falls on the ground. I mean, that is one of the clearest examples of concurrent programming. One of the clearest that I can address. In fact, I consider doing an ebook on concurrent programming to really introduce this concept because it undermines all of the wrong explanations for predictive programming. It shows how it's all political. Pete Ross says, yes, the death clingers and corpse clutchers are assisting the mainstream media lies by agreeing with body counts without first assisting upon evidence. Hashtag autohoax. There we have it. An educated, informed, skeptical autohoaxer with a firm grasp on the methodology. Why we don't cling to corpses. Why we're not maintaining that the body counts are real. And this is good. This is a great article I mentioned earlier. Are false flags a thing? I linked it below. And I think we need to share this information. This is pretty much in line with a lot of what we discussed, but basically this is another article where he's suggesting, this article suggests here, that false flags don't actually happen. He says, has there ever been a real false flag? Are all alleged false flags really just 100% psyops, where not only is the claim of who's responsible false, but the act also? Why should we believe any part of the story without evidence, when we know that part of it's false? And if the perps can make the anticipated disbelievers of their false story get it partly wrong, wouldn't they prefer to engineer that situation than allow them to get it right? Precisely. They give us false flag theories so we don't call it fake. I put an article out, and I believe it's in Autohoaxology 101, and I call it the false flag fallacy. And the false flag fallacy was introduced deliberately into Trutherville to mislead people. There's an article here, Autohoaxology 101, the false flag fallacy. And I have a link to the, here we go, the entire article here. Life imitates art far more than art imitates life, Oscar Wilde. I would say that life imitates psyops. You know, the psyops imitate art, but it's certainly a closed loop here. But I wrote this book to explain how popular conspiracy theories are used to reinforce mainstream deceptions. And that's pretty much how it works. So free thinkers are routinely brought back into the box. And most truthers are well-intentioned, but they are unwittingly helping to bury the truth. The truth is buried by misguided conspiracy theorists because they know the media is lying, so they automatically glom onto whatever the media is not saying, whatever they're avoiding. Auto-hoaxers are those deconstructing the news and recognizing psychological operations. We're not conspiracy theorists. We're media analysts, critics, deconstructionists. Our operating premise is fake until proven real if fakeable, and if there's a clear agenda to the story. We're not just automatically calling things fake. And so I delineate three primary ways that people interpret the propaganda. The mainstream view, or non-conspiratorial, which I call MSM. The conspiratorial view adds on to the MSM. I call it MSM plus. So they say, yeah, 50 people got shot at the mall, but it was done by an MK Ultra programmed assassin. So now you have the mainstream story, and you have this deep state narrative and this assassin narrative attached to it. Auto-hoaxing, the skeptical view, is questioning the premise set by the MSM. It's the negative route, the subtractive. We remove unverifiable claims immediately. I call this MSM plus. Minus, MSM minus. So are you MSM plus or minus? Well, if you're calling things a false flag, you're a plus. You're still deeper in the box. If you're questioning if it even happened, then you're on the right place. You're in the minus territory. You're on the correct side of the screen. So here's an example, and you can see how I wrote this a couple years ago, but right now it's 100% relevant. Conspiracy theorists generally assume the mainstream media to be telling the truth about the death toll or the event, but they assume the shooter was a patsy or a mind-controlled assassin. These additional claims constitute the plus. Conspiracy theorists are in a category of believers, not knowers. And I have many, many examples of this, but the fact of it is the auto hoaxer has been proven right again and again because we have the correct methodology. In this article here, I actually have a distinction made between concurrent and predictive programming. But we're way ahead of the curve, and I'm just happy to see other people finally catching on. You can stop following Alex Jones in circles around big trees, designated conspiracy theories that you're allowed to talk about and you're allowed to be censored about. This is allowed to. There are many other trees in this forest of fakery that they don't let you look at. They don't draw any attention to. So it's a forest of fakery, but people focus on, oh, Sandy Hook, 9/11, COVID. Well, what about the other 500 psyops? What about the consistent programming that leads to every psyop, that leads to every fake event? So we have the overview here. Got a message from, oh, this is a comment from the article, Are False Flags a Thing? From Girl. I've rethought my views on this and radically altered them. I have no choice to submit on the argument over the term false flag. You either armbarred me or choked me out on the mat. I surrender. You win the argument. Good. False flag is an outmoded misdirection term. It works against us. We can drop it. Aritos made a comment on my video, Trump assassination WWE PR stunt psyop. He said, quote, I was Special Forces Delta Force. We did security detail in DC all the time. This was totally scripted. Too many errors done by Secret Service to mention here. Yeah, the Secret Service Three Stooges routine that you saw was rehearsed and it was performed perfectly. They wanted to deliver that. Got a new subscriber at ips.monster, Isaac Clark. Thank you very much. He said, inoculation against the mind aids. Yeah, you know what's amazing about mind aids, which is the general consensus, uncritically consuming news media, no filter, no mental immune system. The thing is, that's the default position. The media gives you mind aids. They don't let you critically examine stuff. They want you to just accept every mind virus they give you, no mental immune system. Having a mental immune system is considered hate speech, makes you a conspiracy theorist. But I've been saying for some time that this is mind war inoculation. You're not going to be a passive receptacle to programming. That's what I mean. By having a mental immune system, you're not a passive receptacle to programming. You're deprogrammed. But unlike the regular kind, Mind AIDS has a cure. It's called IPR, and it's actually free. Someone showed me this today. This is pretty good. This is Biff Tannen, and I call Donald Trump Hiram a Biff Tannen. Biff Tannen has a cane with a raised fist. And here's Trump with his raised fist. Again, Trump is Biff Tannen. Not just a resemblance, but they intentionally designed him that way. Here's the very sane and incredible Alex Jones, quote, the globalists might hijack a plane by remote control and fly it into Mar-a-Lago. So microwave weapons, plastic explosives, tactical nukes, remote control planes flying into Mar-a-Lago. I don't think he's rang any alarm bells against 5G towers, but Jones is there just listing all the things that are going to be used to kill him, Andrew Tate, Tucker Carlson, and Elon Musk. They're all going to get it.
So Trump is in maximum danger of poisoning, truck bombs. The globalists might hijack a plane by remote control, fly into Mar-a-Lago. I'm not being alarmist, and I know Trump's tough and has ice water in his veins, but Trump should be in a bunker at this point. So Trump is in...
All right, well, you should be in a bunker because of chemtrails. You should be in a bunker because of space junk or whatever it is that you've been told to fear that you do fear. My Sonic Charlatan says, how was Julius Caesar born in July, which is named after him? Well, there's a little bit of a discrepancy. So they say Julius Caesar's birthday, according to the information that I found online, is July 13th and July 12th, or it's one or the other. Today in history, July 13th, on this date, 100 BC, Julius Caesar, the most famous general in Roman history, is born. although others report July 12th. But 13th, 12th, sometimes both. But this is Harrison Ford's birthday, and Ford was in a movie called Captain America, just came out. Apparently, he was nearly trumped. I mean, it was the same thing. He gets shot at and he falls on the ground. Let me play this clip here. This is Trump talking about the shooting.
So surprising to see it here, but have to get over it. We have to move forward. We have to move forward. It's just horrible to see that happening. That's just horrible. So surprising to see it here, but
I don't see his earpiece on. America is great, says Alex would make a great strategist for the ISS. Nothing like giving them ideas. I think he's just trying to cover all the bases. Poisoning, bombs, tactical nukes, microwave weapons, all that. I think he's just trying to cover all his bases. All right, I believe we've covered everything I wanted to cover for today. There's just so much more to go off of, but we're doing quality control as well. We're rooting out bad evidence. Donald Trump was never in a coffin on The Simpsons. There's no discernment in Trutherville. The predictive programming for this event has been off the charts, and I think the strongest piece so far is from The Atlantic. And a lot of people who notice predictive programming aren't processing it correctly. It's the biggest clue of all. And I think that, like what Conscious Daughter said, like the Nipsey Hussle event, this one does seem to be sparking a lot of conversation from a very skeptical perspective. In fact, let me pull up some comments that were sent to me. Okay, here we go. So this is an email. Tim, I ran across a live broadcast of Dane Kellaway. He played a video with the alleged shooter, featured on YouTube, infomercial, filmed in Pittsburgh, owned by BlackRock, entitled Who We Impact, Financial Freedoms for Teachers. Yes, that was the one. What a big tell. He's already in the club. I think it's clear. Messianic Charlatan remarked that this was the 42nd. Oh, yeah, that's right. The blackouts. The 7/13 is the blackout date. You had a blackout in 1977, July 13th, and July 13th, 2019. It occurred on the 42nd anniversary. We talked about these Manhattan blackouts. Just another one of these interesting dates. I don't know how much we can attach to it as far as significance to this particular event, although we do have a mind map on it. A lot of interesting things happening on 7/13. Tomino says, not sure if the Captain America assassin is an MK Ultra super soldier. From the wiki, he becomes controlled when certain music is played. So it's a Manchurian Candidate. You know, the Manchurian Candidate movie had it where he saw a visual clue, and it caused him to go off and do a shooting. And I believe the Manchurian Candidate movie came out in 1962, a year before the Kennedy assassination. Yeah, look at this. This is from Daily, JSTOR Daily. The Sinatra movie, some blamed for JFK's death. This movie, along with another Sinatra thriller, The Manchurian Candidate, was swept up. Okay, there's another movie that also apparently has to do with it. So this is predictive programming in the 60s. You know, this is definitely the case. This is predictive programming. According to scattered reports, Lee Harvey Oswald watched one or both of these movies before he shot the president. The scene from the Frank Sinatra film Suddenly was chilling in 1954, but it became eerie. They always use the word eerie when the predictive programming aligns. It was eerie 9 years later when JFK was murdered in Dallas. So I haven't seen the Frank Sinatra film Suddenly. It's a 1954 black and white crime film. The story concerns a small California town whose tranquility is shattered when the train of the President of the United States is scheduled to make a stop and a hired assassin take over a home that provide the vantage point from which to assassinate the president. And then the second movie, The Manchurian Candidate, was about a mind-controlled assassin. According to one story relayed in a former Kennedy staffer's book on Oswald, they watched suddenly on television a month before the assassination. So this was in the movie, I mean, in TV land. A month before JFK was assassinated, an assassination movie's on TV. So you know it was on the public's mind. They're already conditioning people. And you know, leading up to the JFK assassination on that day, the news reporters were talking about Secret Service failures in the past and about previous assassinations that had been successful. On that day, they were prepping everyone. Oswald could have seen The Manchurian Candidate during its 1962 release in Dallas. Many theorists argued that he watched these two movies and used them as an inspiration. As the legend surrounding Oswald's Trigger films grew, another story emerged. Okay, so we're looking at this idea that he was triggered by the movie. Again, the movies are called Suddenly and The Manchurian Candidate. Both of them early examples of predictive programming and conditioning for the PSYOP of 1963. This is where it's at. It says Denzel Washington played the lead in the Manchurian reboot. Now that's interesting too, because of the Washington connection to this whole thing. JL26 might have a lot to say on that. Yeah, Defrag Unplugged says, did you see the footage of people going around seeing the guy on the roof? Yes. And see, that's theater. We were meant to see it. We were meant to see this person getting into place. We were meant to see the Secret Service standing down to give the conspiracy theorists room to call it an inside job and a conspiracy. Look how many conspiracy theory books have been written about the JFK assassination. And none of them say it was fake. Roxy W says every vid has different gunshot sounds. Sorry I was late. Yeah, we're definitely looking at lots of different angles now. A lot of stuff has come out. A lot of people were quick to judge from the very beginning of it. Like, oh, here's the reasons why it can't be real. Well, you have to wait for all of the information to come out and then make your informed assessment. It's okay to say, I don't know, or we need more information. Like when someone says, I know it was real, how do you call it fake? You have to let them know. You don't have enough information to know it's real. Parallax View is another assassination movie, says Norbu LA. Gladiator 2. So Gladiator 2 is going to be released on 11/22. Leave the World Behind, an Obama movie, came out on 11/22. Had 1963 in the zip code. You know, we've been cutting edge on the Trump head wound stuff, on space junk. We've been following all the nuke stuff from the eventual domestic violent extremist attack that's going to come from that. So when you see this, you see that we're accurately calling things out. You should be asking, well, what's next? If we were correct about this, then what is next? Well, fallout. Someone's going to get Oppenheimered, most likely Seattle, and we will be locked down. We'll be locked down after a blackout for fallout. And along with this, there's going to be a shutdown of the internet. Disease X, or X, is going to be blamed. They're going to say, well, the free speech has allowed foreign influences to radicalize our domestic extremists. The Russians give the white nationalists a nuke. Turner Diaries happens. Blame Musk. Blame the internet. So I think there's a number of things that have been forecast. This internet blackout, followed by lockdowns and fallout. But the mushroom cloud scenario, Godzilla's about to strike. Scott Rankin says Sinatra himself asked the United Artists producers to pull both movies after JFK's assassination. Defrag said, I just looked at the moon through a telescope. Sad I missed the ISS passing by. We're going to be doing a ISS observation next week. Everyone is invited, and I'm going to make an effort to invite people who are convinced that there is a space station. Hey, if you believe in Santa, let's all gather on 12/24, and we're all going to watch the skies and record. And then we're going to compile our evidence and examine it and determine, could Santa have made this path from the west coast to the east coast in this time frame, and do we have video evidence to corroborate? And we will be able to prove by the end of the night whether or not there's a Santa Claus. Same thing here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to say, on this date, go outside with the cameras, use these tracking websites, and record what you see. If you see a space station, record it. And we're going to prove or disprove the existence of the space station in the same way. Lean Dion says Aussie government is blaming social media for the Trump event. Exactly. He was a discorder. So what they're saying, and this is also hinted at in 28 Days Later, where a rage virus is the culprit that causes the zombie apocalypse. And the zombie movies are all lockdown movies. But same director did Civil War. And what would cause the Civil War? A rage virus, right-wing hate, memes. They've been concluding this already for a long time. They've already decided this, that the internet is being corrupted by disease acts. And the ideas coming through are going to be blamed for whatever happens next. So this is an indirect attack on our free speech. It's an attack on the free flow of information. And Musk is far from a free speech absolutist. He's one of the primary space fakers. In outer space, the space program has always been about controlling inner space, the space between your ears, via world view building. We live in a fictional universe, a worldview, a construct that we all agree upon. In Leave the World Behind, they called it a collectively agreed upon mass delusion. Supposedly, Napoleon Bonaparte said, history is lies agreed upon. I think we can all agree that media is lies agreed upon, with the exception of us. Okay, thank you all for joining. This is Auto Hoaxology by Symbia. I'm going to put a link to the track below. Please sign up for the newsletter as well. I appreciate all of the support. Interesting times ahead. I think this is just going to get more interesting. This first domino was just pushed, and I kind of think that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg here. We haven't seen the reactions yet. We see Alex Jones and his histrionics. RNC's happening right now. And again, the takeaway today, the same photographer that photographed 9/11 being whispered into George Bush's ear photographed the bullet whizzing by Trump's ear. This mirrors Richard Drew photographing RFK falling to his death, and it mirrors his photography, Richard Drew, of the falling man on 9/11. So two photographers, each connected to assassinations and 9/11. And then there's another photographer who did the photo of bloody Trump with a raised fist, who also photographed the shoe being thrown at George W. Bush. So these would be two presidential attack scenes. Very interesting developments all around. The predictive programming in Machete is mind-blowing, considering Robert De Niro's playing Trump years before Trump emerged on the world stage in politics. That's just perfect. It's a perfect example of what we describe. That he's literally given the same speech even. And then the Captain America Harrison Ford thing, hugely significant, big giveaways. Again, we have cracked the media matrix. We've figured out how it works. We're not wrong about any of this. In fact, we've been vindicated more than ever. Okay, here's a link, Synchromorpheus. Thank you for the link. Let me post it. The iconic shot of a bloody Trump raising his fist on the American flag was taken by Evan Vucci, who also captured the image of the angry Iraqi journalist throwing a shoe. Excellent find. This is Synchromorpheus. Excellent find. Again, this just reinforces my view that the media produce the events. They are the reality TV show disguised as news, sometimes overlapping with news so that you trust them. All right, have a great evening. This is Auto Hoaxology, Symbia.
I don't believe in chemtrails, I don't live in Trutherville. Just because you saw it on the screen doesn't make it real. I don't take the red pill, I don't take the blue pill. I just choose to follow my dreams, auto hoax and chill. I stepped off the world stage and I moved away from all the fake outrage and the hearsay. And I don't give the time of day to those that naysay, because they got a bad case of the mind day. I stepped away from the game entirely, I won't be caught up in their lame dichotomy. I've stepped away from the cage entirely. I'm free today and my mind's been set by reading out of hoaxology, out of the control system finally. I know where to go if you follow me, cause I've been reading out of hoaxology. Nothing can bother me, out of hoaxology. Won't put the screen before it's blasphemy. I won't become another mind war casualty. I came up out the realm of possibility to take the helm of this reality. Cause I've been chillin', reading out of hoaxology, rejecting all the expectations of the auto-believer, to become a new creation on the raft of receivers. Standing on the sword of truth, I stab the backs of deceivers, demanding burdens for the proof from all the hacks and believers. I stepped away from the game entirely, I won't be caught up in the lame dichotomy. I stepped away from the cage entirely. I'm free today and my mind's been set by reading auto hoaxology, out of the control system finally. I know where to go if you follow me, cause I've been reading auto hoaxology. Nothing can bother me, auto hoaxology. Won't put the screen before it's blasphemy. I won't become another mind war casualty. I came up out the realm of possibility to take the helm of this reality. Cause I've been chillin', reading out of hoaxology, suspending all the judgment, you won't get a reaction. Won't defend it, I won't budge until I get all the facts in. I won't argue with the bots about the next current thing, crying over the fake bodies like a bitter death clinger.